It is week number 1, Midway football. The era of Joe Gillespie starts with a game in a beautiful setting at Crew Stadium at UMHB in Belton. And you've done this before. You've had opening weeks before, but this is like the era at Midway, which we've discussed that before. But what's this week been like so far?
Well, it's been exciting, David, and thanks for having me here. And our kids are excited. Our staff is excited. There's a buzz in the community, and obviously we want to go put a good product on the field, and we're going to know more about ourselves after Friday than we've known about ourselves since we got here and the staff got together. And so, obviously I'm having a hard time at night sleeping, not because I'm worried, but more because it's like Christmas to me. It's exciting to get out there and get with those kids and let's go to work.
Are you still trying to figure out where things are located in some cases? It's not been a long time.
No, it hasn't been a long time. As a matter of fact, on my way here, I was having a conversation with our principal and our AD on how do I do this, how do I do that, where do I find this, and what key opens that.
So you took the job. It's been a while. I mean, not a long time, but the transition, and then your coaches late arriving because of some of their contracts, and so you didn't do spring. You had the extra week, which the 3 weeks rather than the two scrimmages, rather than just the one. Do you know who you are, or is that's going to take some time, the identity of this team?
Well, obviously we know. That's a great question. Obviously we know a little bit more about who we are than what we knew all through the spring and all through the summer. And, we're starting to learn about where some of our strengths are. We're also kind of learning a little bit about some of our deficiencies and trying to get creative in some of those areas. And that's okay. But for us to know what our identity is right now is extremely hard. And for me, been doing it long enough, fortunately that even if I'm here, when I'm here year 10, hopefully, we're still going to be creating an identity. I think every team is different from year to year, regardless of what you have coming back. And I think that was a hard lesson that I had to learn when I was at Stephenville. As soon as you think that you got it rolling and everything, then staying on top, that's a little bit different mission.
Well, this is a program that last year was able to have a surge at the end with what Ezram did. Shane was there, then Ezram, and it was kind of like really a breath of fresh air because they got back in the postseason. Still 5-6, lost in a game they could have won easily against Waxahachie. But it's a proud program. You know that. They beat
Absolutely.
you a couple of times. And,
yes, sir.
They've been in state championship games. They've won numerous district titles, including last year. It's a lot of pride, but there was a point where they kind of lost their edge. What have people told you about Midway football?
Well, I've always viewed, and I think I can speak for probably the vast majority of coaches in the state of Texas, that Midway is a flagship program and always has been. And even, before I played them when I was at Stephenville, and that was in 10 and 11, and, we went 0-2 against them. They were great games and stuff, but, it's kind of that old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And so, excited and fortunate to be here. But this is one of those programs that it's rich in tradition. It's rich in their legacy and being successful, both on the field and academically and all sports and at fine arts and everything. And so this is the whole package at Midway. And so, our job here is to sit there and let's go back to those glory days. The fortunate thing is that these kids have gotten a taste of it. And what Coach Martinez and that staff were able to do, the second half of the season and to pull off some of the wins that they were able to pull off. And just like you mentioned, I mean, they could have easily gone to round 2 and then, who knows what happens from there. But they got a taste of what it's like. They got a taste of success. And there's a hunger and, kids are eager to be coached, hungry to be coached. And obviously they want to get back to that same feeling, that same position. And let's take this even further.
2010, I didn't do the play-by-play until 2011, the year that they won at Stephenville.
I remember it well, David.
Yeah. I bet you do.
There was 3 different quarterbacks and about 3 different offenses coming at us.
No, they did. Darling, I think, was one of them. And then, of course, Kramer Robertson was kind of the one that's like trying to find a guy who's being tased. But so 2010, when you played in Waco, they were at an alternate stadium at the time, I believe.
No, we actually played at Panthers Stadium.
Okay.
We sure did.
Well, they renovated. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What are your thoughts about, I know the Texas football. I just had Todd Dodge on for a high school podcast, and the stadiums and facilities is what a lot of times, and coaching and the commitment to football, what separates Texas from everyone else who has talent. But what about the facilities you have? And I know you always could want more, but the indoor, the stadium, and just like the campus itself.
Well, I think, for us as a football program and just talking about football right now, we have what you need to be successful. We've got a phenomenal indoor facility, so you don't have to worry about, heat and things of that nature. You don't have to worry about the rain and the cold and all that. So there's never going to be a practice missed. And so you got an opportunity to go into this huge indoor facility that, I think any place in the state of Texas would like to have something like that. We got a phenomenal weight room, and we've got the ability to have 44 bars moving at once. Well, you could sit there and really have about 130 plus kids lifting at one time. And so just to have that ability, those are things that help you win ball games. And then you got an unbelievable stadium. And, I don't think we could ask for much more. Obviously, we always want a little bit more. But the things that we got to improve on right now aren't necessarily things that help you win games. The things that help you win games we've got.
You had some players who came back from that team that made the run last year, and you always have to deal with bumps and bruises and whatever, and you're not going to be able to start 100% healthy. What kind of a challenge has that been?
Well, it's always a challenge, and you start leaning on your leaders, guys like Mike Collins and Carlos Talton and Landon Wissington and those guys that they've been there and they've gone through this entire program from the ground up. And now here they are as seniors, and they're having to go with a new guy at the helm and a whole new staff and new verbiage and new lingo and new offense, new defense, new everything. And man, they've done a tremendous job of embracing all the change. And, that's one of the big things that we talked about when we got here is just building culture. There's one constant in life, and that's change. And so how you embrace that change and stuff is going to be dependent upon your success.
Kevin Crane, the offensive coordinator, Josh Creech, of course, defensive coordinator, as they get ready to go. I know that it's about what the seniors bring, and I don't want to bring up too much individual till we see games and stuff. But when you first saw Lathan Wissington on the hoof, what did you think?
Well, when I first saw Lathan Wissington on the hoof, I think he was 14 years old. And I was like, where does that guy play collegiately? Is he just here working out? When
you were here recruiting, was that what you were doing?
Well, no, actually, I came in and was just looking at the job.
Okay. Yeah,
and so unfortunately, I wasn't very familiar with Midway because I didn't recruit the Waco area. And so when I came in and got to see him, got to see Donovan Jones, got to see Mike Collins, got to see several of those guys, Landon Wissington.
Right.
And when you see these guys on the hoof, you're like, oh my goodness. I mean, there's some good looking kids, but when you get to see a young man like Lathan Wissington, who at the time was a freshman in high school, and then some of the coaches visit with you about what he's done and what he's accomplished up to this point, and the biggest thing about him is, man, he is a phenomenal athlete, a great football player. His work ethic is second to none, and as long as this young man is able to keep all of this work ethic and this character and this leadership about him, I'm going to tell you, the sky's going to be the limit for him. I'm excited to watch him play.
You play Westwood on Friday in Belton, and Anthony Wood's been there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
They had a great running back themselves last year in Damani Stewart, who I think is at West Point now.
Yes, sir.
And they've got, obviously, a lot of people back. He's really good. They were good on offense.
Yep.
They didn't make the playoffs, but they put up a lot of yards and a lot of points. What do you know about him? And I know they scrimmage, you see, but what do you know about his football teams?
Well, I've known Anthony for a long time, and as a matter of fact, Anthony gave me an opportunity, and I didn't accept it. But it was probably about 20 years ago when he got the he got the job, and gave me an opportunity to go be his defensive coordinator. And I was at Stephenville at the time, and we had some things rolling there, and so that was a tough decision. Anthony is salt of the earth human being. But he is a great, great coach. And, they lost some big weapons offensively. They got quite a few weapons returning defensively. Naturally, you would think that they would be a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball right now than they would be on the offensive side of the ball, just simply because of the names that you're seeing there that weren't there last year. And but Anthony is a guy that understands this game of football. He is a phenomenal offensive mind and a great head football coach, but he has a phenomenal offensive mind. He's going to scheme it to where, he knows what we run defensively and he knows his kids and what they're capable of doing. And so you sit there and you have to sit there and adjust to what you have. And Anthony is one of those coaches that has that ability to do so.
You have the new quarterback yourself and Cash Pullen and, of course, McNair, the backup, who's the younger player. Do you need him to manage the game initially and just like – because it's a lot of it – they had a hell of a quarterback in Ty Brown last year. He's gone, so there's transition. Is that what you want him to do? Or can he at times make a play for you with his feet or his arm?
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to throw some props out at Cash, and Cash hasn't gotten to play a game, yet with us and stuff. But I'm going to tell you the growth that he has had from the time that I stepped on campus to this point has been tremendous. Now we got to make some of the same steps forward, and but he's been very accepting of coaching, hard coaching. Cash wants to be great. Cash wants to do really well. Cash also understands that he's surrounded by some good football players. You talk about Latham Wissington and Eduardo Longoria. I mean, there's a bunch with Little English. And then with an offensive line that he has, and he has some weapons that he can sit there and throw to. So there's going to be some times that, hey, you're going to be able to pull the ball down. Let's pick up some yards and let's get down or get out of bounds and stuff like that. We got a long season. And so let's live to play another play. But you don't have to go out there and win games for us. Let's go out there and let's manage the game. Let's be smart with the football. Sometimes being smart with the football means that you have to sit there and eat it and punt it.
Right.
And let's flip the field. You got to understand the entirety of the game.
Joe Gillespie in his first year at Midway after a tremendous career attached to what Stephenville did, then as a head coach too. And then your time in college at Tulsa with Philip Montgomery and then at TCU. My last thing for you, and then again, we'll do this every week and have this up on the YouTube channel and more. You were in college for a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And then you had the chance to be on a national championship game stage, and I know that didn't end very well. What was that? What was that experience like, though, to be a part of that run in 2022?
I'll be honest with you, David. I mean, that was kind of a Cinderella story, really. And I've had a lot of great moments and been with some great people. And the run with Coach Montgomery at Tulsa. I would give anything to relive some of those things and to get to do those things with him again and that staff and what he established. But with those kids and stuff in 2022, because that was a team that went, they won 4 or 5 ball games the year before. And then all of a sudden you find yourself somehow going undefeated in conference play, playing for a Big 12 championship. Unfortunately, got beaten overtime by K-State, but still making the Final Four and going to the playoffs, and then getting to go and play Michigan and coming out with a win at the Fiesta Bowl. And then all of a sudden you find yourself somehow playing on the biggest stage in college football.
Against Godzilla.
Against Godzilla. And man, they are everything they're made out to be, obviously. But it was, I don't know that something like that in college football will ever be mimicked again. And because it was really a testament to those kids. They never did freak out, never got worried. We would be down by 21 and it was just like, all right, what do you want us to do next? And so it was a phenomenal just concoction of all the emotions and everything just came together all at once.
And one of those, Travius
no doubt.
Tomlinson, was a part of that run.
Absolutely.
A Midway alum. Yeah.
Jim Thorpe Award winner.
Absolutely.
Best corner in the nation. Toughest nails. A fearless competitor. And, you get guys like that, and hopefully we can have a few more of those come through Midway. You're going to win a lot of ball games for sure.
Thanks for your time, man. Good luck this first week. We'll be
Thanks,
back.
David. I appreciate it.
Joe Gillespie, the Joe Gillespie era at Midway has begun, and this is 365 Sports.